Chapter 32.
Laguna Part 4. Why the heck do I have to do this?
Laguna's cry was punctuated by him crossing his arms and kicking a rock off of the narrow mountain path he was standing on. The rock clicked against the ground as it bounced down.
"'Cause we have no money,"
Kiros reminded him, crossing his own arms. He was standing just below Laguna, frowning up at him. Standing just above him on the path, Ward crossed his own arms. He nodded his head in agreement, but no words passed his lips. He didn't talk anymore. He couldn't. The only thing that escaped when he tried was a breathy sort of wheeze.
"All right, I'm sorry."
Laguna threw up his hands, turning between his friends.
"Yeah, so it's kinda my fault that we stayed at hotels so often." "Kinda?"
Kiros asked as Ward raised an eyebrow.
"Okay, so it's totally my fault. But I'm not cut out to rough it. And I'm definitely not cut out to be an actor."
Kiros grinned.
"So you say, but we know you're really excited."
Ward nodded and grinned along with him. Honestly, when Kiros told him that he and Ward had found a job for him on a movie set, he had prayed for some kind of behind-the-scenes job. Desperately, he had hoped that they hadn't picked a job in adult films to punish him. Laguna still had some trouble believing that he was acting in an actual movie. Yeah, it was low budget and a little trite. Laguna thought it was based on a popular book, but he was thinking that the production was a passion project for someone. If it weren't for the respectable sum he was being offered, he still didn't think that he would do it. If he was excited about being in a film, who was he kidding? He was totally excited. He was going to be captured on film forever. Even if it were a low-budget passion project, he was still in film.
"Okay, everyone!"
A loud yell echoed up the narrow mountain path.
"Take your positions. Sir Knight, your scene is coming up. So get ready."
The three friends looked away from the path and back towards each other. It was pretty cold up here, but Laguna was rather sure they were getting close to Esthar. At long last. Or he was totally lost again. Either one was possible at this point.
"Man, I can't believe this director,"
Laguna tossed back his hair. It was getting out of control with the length, but he didn't have time to cut it anymore.
"Making a movie with me? I'm a total amateur. Just what the heck am I supposed to do?"
Ward gave him a long look and Laguna grumbled, looking away.
All right. So we were lucky I got the job at all. As long as we make some money, right? Who is really ever going to watch this anyway?" "Let's go, superstar,"
Kiros grinned, pushing against his shoulder.
"Let's go get you suited up. I bet you're going to look fantastic."
Ward was laughing as they moved towards the vehicle further up the path where the director had stored the costumes. Kiros was getting out the costume while Laguna quickly removed his clothes from behind the jeep. Then he got cold, so he quickly put them back on again. Whatever. He would just wear the costume over his clothes. It was too cold out here. Then Kiros handed him the costume.
Are you serious? What kind of costume is this?"
Kiros shook his head, grinning.
"No complaining, superstar. The money is good. Let's go.
A few minutes later, Kiros and Ward were smirking as they watched Laguna try to awkwardly walk back down the mountain path in his costume. Sir Knight was a role the director had taken very literally. From who knows where, the man had procured a full-body suit of armor. Only the helmet was suspiciously absent, meaning Laguna's face was readily visible. The metal of the armor gleamed brightly in the sunlight. And, in the holster at his side, Laguna had been given a gun blade of all things. Thin and deadly, it had no ammo, but the blade was still sharp. Laguna couldn't imagine where the director had gotten it, but if the dents and scratches were any indication, he would guess a pawn shop on the seedy side of town. As Laguna was trying to awkwardly walk in the armor, he turned down onto the switchbacks where the scene was being filmed. The director/cameraman/editor/special effects supervisor was standing near the bottom with a lovely-looking young woman in a white dress with a red shawl. He whistled appreciatively on seeing Laguna.
"Hey, look at you! Not bad! This is your co-star, playing the part of the sorceress."
"Hi," the girl, who was clearly years younger than Laguna, waved brightly.
"Nice to meet you." "Hello,"
Laguna smiled at her.
"So all we need now is someone to play the dragon?"
The director frowned.
"What happened to the guy who was supposed to play the dragon?"
the sorceress asked.
"He quit. Said his mother found out where the filming was supposed to be and she forbid him from coming. Overprotective matriarchs are the death of good cinema." "So what are we doing here?"
Kiros asked, looking down from one of the upper switchbacks. The director looked up and blinked at Laguna's friends. Especially the large one. A smile broke out on his face.
"Oh. Perfect. Hey, you too."
"Yes." Kiros raised an eyebrow.
"I'm kinda in a squeeze here. The guy playing the dragon is out. Do you think you could put on the dragon costume and kinda just walk down here? I'll pay ya."
Kiro and Ward shared a glance. Kiros looked back as Ward crossed his arms.
"I guess so." "Oh, great. Thanks."
The director beamed at him as the two walked back towards the car.
"Come on, Sir Knight, Lady Sorceress. Let's go on standby over here. Have you been practicing your lines, Sir Knight?"
Laguna frowned as he followed him down. Going further down the path, none of them heard Kiros let out a terrified scream.
"The lighting is perfect."
The director beamed, aiming his camera at his stars. The girl was a natural, the knight was rather fidgety.
"Okay, people, here we go. Scene 12, Death of the Sorceress. This is the big money shot, so let's make it good. Ready? Action."
The girl went right into it.
"Oh, Sir Knight,"
she bemoaned, her hand to her forehead in despair.
"Save me from the wicked dragon." "Oh. Okay,"
Laguna said lamely. Crap. What were his lines? Leg, stop hurting.
I'll save you from the dragon."
Laguna drew the blade from his side. He didn't even have a sheath, as that was an expense the director hadn't seen the need to include. He held up the long, thin gleaming blade, trying to rack his brain on how to use it. He hadn't touched one since training. Kinda like this. Swishing out the blade, Laguna was surprised by how graceful and easily it responded to him. To the point where it didn't even feel like it was his. He stopped in a pose, the blade in front of his face in such a way that the camera had it splitting his image in half. What was that? Where had that come from? It took Laguna a moment to recognize and remember the buzzing in his hands. Don't say the fairies chose now to check in on him.
Hey, not bad,
the director gave him a thumbs up from behind the camera.
I'll just put in some voiceovers. You keep it up with the physical stuff. Okay. Hey, you two. Bring on the dragon.
Laguna and the sorceress turned and looked up the path. Silence strung out and the director frowned.
Hey. Come on, guys. The dragon.
The loud pounding footsteps on the path had the director grinning. Quickly, he snapped the camera back onto the pass entrance as the large, ruby-red dragon stalked into view. Gleaming claws and horns the color of obsidian flashed in the sunlight beautifully. The dragon looked even better than the knight, and the director had been proud of that costume.
All right. Here we go. Let's make it believable. I want heartache, desperation, and courage. Action.
Laguna stood back so the director could get a good shot of the dragon coming down. Its wings furled, steam came from its nose.
Whoa, wow. Just like the real thing.
The director's smile was wide.
Excellent work, Kiros.
A strong, low-frequency humming started in the dragon's throat as it faced Laguna. The dragon was taking up the entirety of the path.
Wait a minute.
The director frowned looking over the camera as his excited faded in the wake of logic and reality.
Was the costume that big?
Whoa. Laguna lifted his gun blade and faced the dragon. Kiros and Ward were really taking this seriously. And they were mocking him for being excited about being in a movie. This costume was the best on the whole production though. It looked like the real thing. The dragon struck so fast that Laguna didn't even see it rear back. Sharp teeth scraped across the metal of Laguna's pawn shop armor. Crying out in pain from the strike, Laguna fell back a few steps. He gave the dragon a look. Eyes darting to the camera, he took his stance again. He whispered to his friends.
Geez, take it easy, Kiros. You almost got me.
The dragon growled at him, baring his teeth. Saliva glinted off the white and yellow bone as smoke unfurled from its nostrils. Long claws dug into the earth, leaving deep marks.
What they?
An alarm bell was ringing in Laguna's head. Not his own. The fairies whispering in his ear that this wasn't right.
Is this thing real? What?
The director jumped back.
No wonder. Wait, what am I doing? I'm getting outta here. Well, Sir Knight, it's all yours.
Turning tail, the director fled.
Hey.
Laguna looked at his back, confused.
Sir Knight,
the sorceress was going backwards down the path.
I must bid you farewell. Hey. Don't just leave me here.
Laguna yelled after the two of them. Neither of them listened as they booked it towards the bottom of the mountain. Laguna looked up at the dragon, laughing nervously. The dragon was glaring at him with glowing red eyes. The shine of his armor, so photogenic, also caught the monster's attention.
You're not gonna let me go, are you?
Laguna asked rhetorically. The weight of the gun blade in his hand reminded him that he wasn't totally unarmed. It was a substandard gun blade, in poor shape, but it was a weapon. It wasn't like Laguna had any better choice at this point.
All right.
Laguna got into his stance, raising the gun blade.
Let's go.
Fairies, lend me your strength. Guard. Now. Laguna brought the blade, covering his face, barely preventing the dragon's teeth from embedding in his cheek and jaw. They caught on the blade instead. A horrid metal screech echoed in his ears as the teeth bit into the metal, but the blade held true. Laguna grunted, struggling against the dragon's strength. The only advantage he had was that the mountain path was too thin for the large monster. It made fighting awkward for the beast, while Laguna faced no such restrictions. Drawing back his fist, Laguna slammed the metal-coated knuckles into the dragon's nose. Roaring, it drew back. Ruby eyes glared hatefully as it lowered its body menacingly.
Fairies.
Laguna wished he had room to back away.
I think that just made it mad.
Go for the eyes. The dragon lunged again. Laguna's arm swept up, deflecting the blow. Then sliced down. A long gash appeared on the soft scales around its eyes. He missed the actual eye by only a few centimeters, but just enough that it only made the dragon even angrier. It chomped down on Laguna. He jerked the gun blade up, catching it by the teeth again. The dragon clamped down harder. The steel of the gun blade groaned in protest as it began to dent under the monster's strength. Laguna cursed, gritting his teeth. The gun blade was going to break and he was going to be completely defenseless. No. It couldn't end here. Laguna hadn't come this far to be stopped by this thing. He had to get into Esthar. He had to save Elone.
Not today, Scaly.
Laguna kicked upwards. The pointed metal boot of his armor slammed into the dragon's throat. Roaring in pain, the sound altered by the strike, the dragon fell back. Shaking its head, struggling to breath. Laguna turned on his heel and ran down the path. Cursing, Laguna started pulling at the heavy metal armor pieces covering his body. Get them off before they slowed him down so much he got caught again. Metal clanged against the stone as the pieces were shed from Laguna's body. The scratched and dented gun blade was tossed away. The chest plate fell loudly. Laguna leaped over it neatly. Behind him, he could hear the now familiar thud of the dragon's footsteps. It was coming up on him again. Laguna wasn't going to make it to the vehicle. If the director and actress had even done them the courtesy of waiting. He doubted it. Laguna stared through a valley made by two cliff sides. A path had been cut through the center of it. He couldn't be far from escaping now. Growling loudly, the ruby dragon jumped from the top of the path. Its wings, too long to sustain extended flight, could still glide it into place. It soared over Laguna's head and dropped down onto the path between the cliffs. It growled at him threateningly.
Arn.
Laguna took a couple steps back. He didn't even have that worthless gunblade any longer.
Kiros. Ward. Where the heck are you? You called, Laguna.
Grinning, Kiros jumped down from the top of the cliff. He landed neatly next to Laguna. His guitar shined at his waist. Laguna's gun held fast in his hand. A moment later, Ward jumped as well. He didn't land nearly so neatly. But he got back up, dusting off his pants as he grinned. His harpoon was at the ready.
Wait long.
Kiros grinned.
Too long. I was almost supper. Here.
Laughing, Kiros tossed him his weapon. The machine gun was a familiar weight in his hands. Laguna snatched it out of the air and brought it up to his chest neatly.
Wow! That was awesome! Please tell me you saw that! You don't get points when the fairies do the work,
Kiros laughed. He and Ward were both feeling the buzzing in their brains. The kind that made their weapons lighter, their eyes sharper, their minds faster. It was a good kind of feeling even if it was mysterious.
All right.
Laguna steadfastly ignored him.
Time to kick some dragon butt.
The ruby had more room to move now. But Laguna had his weapon back. More than that, he had his friends again. With that and the fairies in his head, how could he fail? Ward struck first. Charging forward, lifting the harpoon over his head, his feet pounded against the dust as he threw the harpoon forward. Like it was shot from a gun, the enormous metal spike flew fast and true, slicing clear through one of the wings, pinning the beast to the canyon wall like an insect. It roared, pulling against the injured limb. Hot blood peppered the ground as Kiros moved in after him, his blades shining bright. The Qatar were deadly sharp. Even the tough scales couldn't stop their power. As Kiros struck out, multiple long lacerations appeared along its neck and body. The dragon swiped out, obsidian claws gleaming. Kiros jumped back and away. Grinning, Laguna pulled a grenade from his pocket. Grabbing the pin between his teeth, he jerked it free and lobbed the bomb across the canyon. Skidding to a halt under the dragon, the shrapnel grenade exploded into the soft underbelly of the large monster. As it roared, its head coming up, Kiros ran forward and sliced his blade across its neck. Blood came pouring out as the beast collapsed down. Breathing hard, the three of them backed up. Ward had jerked his harpoon free and was resting it across his shoulders. Laguna shared a look with him, laughing in relief.
Wow, that was sweet. I don't think any has ever taken one of these out so quickly before. The fairies are very powerful, Kiros nodded, hooking his Qatar back onto his belt. Honestly, he didn't really think they were fairies at all. However, he had no other way to refer to them. It was just easier to go along with what Laguna was saying. All right, let's get down to the car and...
Loud growling and pounding footsteps cut him off. Laguna didn't need to see the dragon to know that another one was incoming.
How many are there?
He gasped, starting in surprise.
They just keep coming. We're outta here. Come on, guys. Let's just cross the mountain.
Kiros and Ward were right behind him as Laguna sprinted back up towards the switchbacks. They skidded on the dirt as they ran through. It wasn't like they really had a set destination anyway. No one wanted to get into Esthar, so finding it was rather difficult. They had pretty much just been running in random directions since they started searching. Once they were through the switchbacks, away from the dragons, Laguna stopped with his hands on his knees, breathing hard from exertion.
Oh, man. Today is just not our day. We didn't even get paid,
Krios grumbled. Ward rolled his eyes back towards the path.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back either,
Kiros nodded. He was way better at reading Ward's facial expressions than Laguna. In fact, they both asked Laguna to stop trying. It had really been getting embarrassing how wrong he was. Groaning, his back aching, Laguna stood back up. Honestly, he was getting too old for all this running and fighting all the time. He couldn't wait until he could just retire. Back home in Windhill with his Elle and his Rain and that sweet little home above the pub. Yeah, everyone there hated his guts, but who cared? He had what he needed. Laguna's eyes opened as he was scratching the back of his head. The bright red light on the horizon made him frown. Perched at the top of an enormous thing, floating out there in the middle of nowhere. He cocked his head, squinting and leaning forward.
What is that?
Hey? I can't disconnect. Disconnect? What are you talking about? Oh. Is that you, Squall? Yeah. This is weird. I've never been able to communicate with anyone in here. Oh, yeah. Connect is just what I call it. When I use my power. Weird though. Normally it's really easy to just disconnect. I don't understand why I can't. Hold on. Oh. I know. Duh. I must be asleep. That's why I can't control it. Sorry, it's just weird sleeping here, I get strange dreams sometimes. I must have connected without realizing it to make it easier for me. I'm sorry, Squall. Just let me use your spirit for a little while longer. Let me go back. I need to see her. Laguna frowned, the rain streaming down his face. The long-haired, lovely woman standing on the porch of the old stone house frowned at him. He was soaking wet, but he refused to come inside and dry off. He said he didn't have time.
She ain't here either, hey?
Running his hand through his hair, Laguna had to admit that it had been a long shot. A lot of the kids that suffered from the tyrant's rain wound up here, but of course, she hadn't.
If I may ask,
Edia looked concerned.
What happened to this Elone? She was kidnapped by SDR soldiers.
Edia gasped, covering her mouth.
Oh, no. Yeah. I've been traveling, trying all I can to get inside SDR, but...
Edia frowned.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, SDR is further north of Centra. North, right?
That was which way? The sun set in the east, right? Or was it the south?
Why was she taken?
Edia asked gently.
I heard that there was another search for the successor to Source Adele. Yeah. That's exactly it. I'm so stupid. You didn't know? No, I knew, it's just...
Laguna frowned.
I don't know. I was away when it happened. We were picking up a friend of mine, taking him back home. And while I was gone, I can't face rain again until I get Elle back. Is she your daughter?
Edia asked, smiling gently.
Nah.
Laguna laughed sheepishly, scratching the back of his soaking wet head.
She's just so cute. I failed her. I wish I could hear her voice.
I want to hear Rinoa's voice. Laguna made a face, scratching at his ear. He hadn't been expecting the sensation, so it was a little more powerful than he had remembered.
Is something the matter?
Edia tilted her head.
No. Just the fairies.
I don't care if it's in the past or wherever. I want to hear Rinoa. I want to see Rinoa. That way there might be a chance to save her. You can't change the past. I think I just I think I just realized that. I can't make it past this moment now. Elon. A long time ago, when I was kidnapped, Uncle Laguna went on a journey to find me. But because he did, Uncle Laguna wasn't able to be by Rain's side when she died. Rain wanted to show Laguna her newborn baby. Rain kept calling out for Laguna. That's the last memory I have of her. So, no matter what, I wanted Laguna to stay in the village. I didn't care about myself, but if things were right, the way they should have been. Elon. But it didn't work. I want to go back. Send me back. I can no longer make it back to that moment. And I can only send someone I know now into someone I knew then. Oh. I think I hear. I'm sorry, Squall. I'm about to disconnect. To wake up. I'll try again to speak to you this way. Sis. Elon. Please, wait. I need. Squall jerked awake back in the infirmary. His heart was racing with anticipation. Rinoa was still laid out before him, unmoving and cold, but he had an idea now. He had an idea for how to fix this. A plan of action. Something he could actually do. He wanted to hear Rinoa's voice. He wanted to see her again.
I can see you, Rinoa, if we go back in time,
he promised, touching her face gently.
Maybe. I can even change things. Keep this from ever happening. Elon. Elon.
Squall jumped to his feet, roaring at the ceiling.
Can you hear me? Send me back to the moment Rinoa went into a coma.
Silence. Elon didn't hear him. As she said, they were disconnected now. Elon. Why won't you answer? Please. I'll go back into Laguna however many times you want, just give me this one thing. Give me this chance. Elon was on the White Seed ship. Edia's seed ship. Edia's seed?
Then. Maybe. Edia would know where the ship is.
Squall looked at Rinoa, a determined expression on his face.
If she does, then I can see Elon. I can go back. I'll save you, Rinoa. I promise. I won't let this be the end.
End of chapter.